Have you ever pondered the strategies a nation might adopt to carry out a massacre? Our focus today is the Israeli-perpetrated genocide against Palestinians. A contentious issue, undoubtedly, but it is one that necessitates our scrutiny and comprehension. Our aim is not to stir up fury or terror, but to unveil the covert, to expose the methods employed in a crisis that has been predominantly hidden from the international consciousness. The circumstances in Palestine represent a humanitarian calamity of monumental scale. The world has witnessed as more than 1,000 innocent lives were snuffed out in Gaza within a brief span of 90 days. Behind these statistics lies the tales of families shattered, homes reduced to rubble, futures eradicated. This is not a far-off history we are revisiting. It is an ongoing reality that is still unraveling. The Israeli government stands accused of executing a systematic and calculated plan to ethnically cleanse Palestinians from their native land. This extends beyond a random act of aggression. It is a deep-rooted scheme typified by a multitude of methods. From reaching out to other countries to accept Palestinian refugees, to rendering the homeland uninhabitable and framing voluntary migration. The Israeli government is even pushing Palestinians towards the Al-Rafah crossing with the intention of forcing Egypt to take them in. Yet, we must remember that Palestinians belong in Palestine. It's not just about political manipulation or territorial control. It's about weaponizing antisemitism against those who dare to challenge this narrative, while simultaneously manipulating online influencers and controlling narratives on virtual platforms. This genocide has led to a mass influx of displaced Palestinians. Families have been forced into refugee camps, living in squalid conditions, with limited access to basic necessities like food and water. Children have lost their parents, their homes, and their chance at a normal life. The psychological trauma inflicted on these individuals is immeasurable. The physical toll of the violence, the loss of life, has left scars on the Palestinian people that may never heal. These actions are not isolated incidents, but components of a larger, malevolent puzzle. To fully fathom the gravity and intricacy of the situation, we can't afford to recoil from examining these strategies thoroughly. We are obliged to question, to probe further, to challenge the stories that have been handed to us. With the staggering death toll of over 30,000 innocent lives lost in Gaza within a mere 90 days, it's past time we grasp the strategies behind this genocide. Now, more than ever, we need to expose the truth behind what's happening in Gaza. The urgency of the situation cannot be understated. Lives are at stake, and every moment we spend in ignorance is a moment too long. So, let's set out on this journey of uncovering the hidden truth, shall we? One tool in the Israeli arsenal is their international outreach, a strategic move that has far-reaching consequences, particularly for the Palestinian people. This approach involves Israel reaching out to other nations with a proposal that, on the surface, might seem like a humanitarian gesture. Nations like Congo, Rwanda, and Chad have reportedly been approached to take in people from Palestine. But let's delve into the true implications of such a move. While the proposition might initially appear like an offer of refuge, this action contributes significantly to the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. The ultimate result? The displacement and loss of Palestinian lives. By urging the removal of Palestinians to foreign lands, the Israeli government is effectively reducing the Palestinian population within its own borders. However, this issue extends beyond just shifting people from one location to another. It's about tearing individuals and communities from their homes, their culture, their history, and their identity. Picture the heartache of being ripped apart from the land where your forefathers lay buried, from the streets where you frolicked as a child, from the community that has been your support system for generations. This is the terrifying reality many Palestinians are grappling with today. Now let's consider the countries being asked to shelter the displaced Palestinians. These nations, still dealing with their own challenges, might find their resources stretched thin and social tensions potentially heightened with the introduction of a new population forcibly uprooted from their homeland. The international outreach of Israel, thus, is not just a strategic move, but a devastating blow to Palestinian people, displacing them and threatening their lives. It's a method that aims to deplete the Palestinian presence in their own land, while dodging the scrutiny that might accompany more blatant forms of cleansing. This strategy not only displaces Palestinians, but also attempts to erase their historical and cultural ties to their homeland. It's a tactic that's as sinister as it is effective. and it's imperative that the world acknowledges and takes action against these grave consequences. A certain strategy uses environmental manipulation as a devastating weapon, wielding it to make the homeland inhospitable, thereby orchestrating what is portrayed as voluntary migration. This insidious method is much like a silent storm that engulfs the lives of those who call this land home, forcing them out and making departure only means of survival. Let's explore deeper into how the environment is manipulated to achieve this end. The initial phase of this strategy involves a calculated obliteration of resources, directly attacking the very lifelines of the Palestinian people. This wanton destruction extends to hospitals, sanctuaries of healing and hope that are reduced to rubble, leaving the sick and injured without any refuge. Residential buildings, once warm, welcoming spaces filled with family, are turned into heaps of debris, pushing families into a life of vulnerability and homelessness. Religious sites, sacred spaces of solace and faith, bear the brunt too. These sacred spaces, once with prayers and unity, are left silent and broken. The devastation of these sites not only disrupts the spiritual lives of Palestinians, but also eats away at their cultural, dealing a harsh blow to their identity and history. But the strategy doesn't stop at mere destruction. It escalates to making life utterly impossible. By singling out vital infrastructure for obliteration, Israel effectively suffocates the life out of these areas. Essential facilities like water plants, power stations and roads, the lifelines that keep a community alive, are either cut off or decimated. This leaves the Palestinian people with no choice but to leave their land, their roots and everything they cherish. This is not voluntary migration. It's a forced displacement, a planned expulsion masquerading as a choice. It's an unjust game where the rules are skewed and the dice loaded against the Palestinians. The environment is manipulated to become a weapon, a silent but fatal tool of ethnic cleansing. By altering the environment, they're driving Palestinians out of their own land, a land they've loved and cared for over generations. It's a heart-wrenching reality that calls for acknowledgement and action if we're to stand up for justice and human rights. One underhand strategy that has become prevalent is the misuse of antisemitism to silence those who courageously speak up. This tactic is more than a mere ploy. It is a malicious tool frequently used to muzzle dissenting voices, especially those criticizing the actions of the Israeli government. To fully grasp the gravity of this issue, one must comprehend the true nature of antisemitism. It's a heinous form of prejudice directed towards Jews, as individuals and as a community, based on their or religion. This unjust discrimination is intolerable and must be unambiguously condemned by all. However, dissenting opinions on a government's actions, regardless of which government it is, including Israel's, should not be conflated with antisemitism. It is a cornerstone of democratic discourse and freedom of speech. When we critique a government's policies, we are not assailing the people living under its rule, nor are we slandering their ethnicity or faith. However, in the case of Israel, this crucial distinction becomes alarmingly distorted. Those who dare to question Israeli policies frequently labeled anti-Semitic. This tactic is a deliberate ploy to suppress criticism, hinder open dialogue, and cultivate a climate of fear and intimidation. It serves as a formidable shield, deflecting attention from the pressing issues at stake. For instance, if someone condemns the Israeli government's treatment of Palestinians, they're not expressing hatred towards Jews. Rather, they're raising their voice for human rights, justice, and respect for international law. They're fighting for the dignity and rights of a group of people who have been systematically oppressed. The misuse of anti-Semitism is a powerful weapon of silencing. It's a method of turning the tide, transforming the accuser into the accused. It's a strategy to reshape the narrative, to divert focus, to erect a veil behind which the real issues can be concealed. However, we must not allow this manipulation to prevail. Must remain firm and unyielding in our conviction. Criticizing the actions of the Israeli government does not equate to anti-Semitism. It's not a manifestation of bigotry, it's a cry for justice, human rights, and peace. Voicing concerns about a government's actions is not an attack on a religious or ethnic group. It's an indispensable component of the democratic process, and an essential instrument in championing justice and equality. In our current digital era, the manipulation of influencers and the control of online narratives have unveiled new sinister tactics. Social media platforms, the primary news source for many, have become a battleground for controlling narratives. with influencers wielding significant power. Their vast reach, transcending borders and cultures, can manipulate public opinion and discourse. This manipulation is now serving as a cover for certain realities. The alarming allegations are that influencers are being paid to propagate certain narratives, effectively whitewashing atrocities. These influencers, wielding the power of their massive following, are allegedly used as tools to amplify a single perspective and drown out the voices of those directly affected by the atrocities, the Palestinians. This manipulation of influencers is not only deceiving the public, but also creating a distorted portrayal of the harsh realities on the ground. But the control goes beyond just promoting a specific viewpoint. There is an active effort to silence voices that contradict the mainstream narrative. Reports have surfaced of popular accounts being removed from online platforms. These accounts, belonging to activists, journalists, and everyday citizens, provide first-hand accounts and alternate perspectives about the atrocities committed against the Palestinians. The alleged removal of these accounts is seen by many as a deliberate move to control the narrative and suppress voices, revealing the truth behind the atrocities committed against the Palestinian. The digital age has transformed the world into a global village, but it's up to us to ensure that this village hears all voices, not just the ones that are paid to speak louder. Therefore, it's crucial we question the information we consume and strive to seek the truth behind the manipulated narratives. In summary, we've reviewed several tactics used by Israel in their horrific genocide and forced expulsion of Palestine. We've seen how international outreach has not only displaced Palestinians, but also involved countries like Congo, Rwanda, and Chad, who were approached to shelter the displaced. We've highlighted environmental manipulation, a tactic that deprives life by destroying resources and infrastructure, causing terrible consequences on the Palestinian people. The misuse of anti-Semitism accusations to silence critics was another point of discussion, where criticisms of a government's actions wrongly get labeled as an assault on a religious or ethnic group. We also touched on influencer manipulation, where influencers are allegedly paid to endorse a specific narrative, and the manipulation of online platforms, where accounts are strategically deleted to control the narrative. These strategies form a multi-layered approach aimed at eradicating a community and their homeland. The impact on the Palestinian people is devastating and lasting. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and accompany us next time as we continue to bring into light the issues that matter. Thank you for joining us on this significant examination of a crucial issue. If this video has enlightened you, we urge you not to forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your simple actions can help us maintain our efforts, bringing you the information that truly matters. Until we meet next time, remember this: your voice has immense power. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and your voice to stand against the genocide. Your voice can make a difference in this world. Stand up, speak out, and together we can make a change.